Welcome to InfoCard's podcast, sponsored by Vision One Golf. Hit it straighter, hit it farther. Putt like a maniac. VisionOneGolf.com. Now on with our show.
Today, we're going to have John Lampini, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from SEO Wisely, and I wanted to bring him on. So if he's in the wings, bring him on, would you?
Okay, John, from SEO Wisely. How you doing today, John?
I'm very well. Thank you, Will. And how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Welcome, John. Hey,
Thank you, Peter.
We've known each other for a little bit of time, and your website is SEOwisely.com. And it's made a big difference in my life, and I want to talk a little bit about that and what you're doing and such. Is that all cool with you?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
All right. Let me lay the foundation. Well, most people know that listen to me, they know that I do a lot of marketing on the web, marketing their brick-and-mortar business, and certainly search engine optimization has been a great tool up until just recently to really help people get some traffic and get some leads and stuff. And then I ran across the SEO Wisely group, and I joined them. And what John's got together here is pretty phenomenal. For me, at least, that is we're bringing people to train us on what they do for SEO work and to not overdo it, but to do it right, white hat stuff, not black. And we get the chance to share ideas and try new things and broaden our horizons. And for those that are listening, if you work at home or in a small niche group, it's very lonely at times, and there's not a lot of places to go to get a lot of help or bat some ideas around. And John's got this wonderful group at SEOwisely.com that does precisely that. So, John, how did you get the idea for SEO Wisely?
Well, you did say a few things there that I'm definitely going to have to reference back to, and I'll mention those in a minute. But, I started this out basically from realizing that there was really no way to know everything that you need to know when it comes to SEO. And you didn't know that I'm also Dr. Seuss in my off time with that little rhyme. So SEO and technical stuff in general is just ridiculously complicated and complex. And not only that, but there are so many different parts, pieces, and just nuggets to know just to do the most simple things or the smallest parts. Somebody can be very knowledgeable in local search engine marketing, for example, just local stuff that's not even really external SEO backlinking. And they might need to know external backlinking, but they don't know that. So these were some things that I was discovering as I was really getting involved with people and really getting to be engaged with people that do all these different types of internet marketing and search engine optimization. And, another thing that brought it together as well was that unless these people were part of a company, then they really have no support in order to make things happen, to learn about the latest changes. SEO industry recently, and for quite a while now, has definitely been the most changing and evolving industry in the online world. And to keep up with that, just to keep up with the changes that are happening, just news-wise, it could have its own CNN for sure. So
it's almost a job in and of itself, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you could have a job just being like Rush Limbaugh or something for SEO.
Yeah. Yep.
And there are some people that do that. The problem is it's just as controversial as politics too, because who knows what you need to do as well. So basically we have a bunch of people who are isolated and lost and in an industry that's changing faster and faster and is extremely complicated in the first place. So we saw that allowing people to get together and share their different sets of expertise so that they could exchange information and resources with real-time current practices, current things that actually make a difference and actually have an effect now.
Right.
Those were the reasons that we made this happen, because products that you purchase just are not. They're not current.
Right, they have
So
a
that's
shelf
another
life.
problem.
They're going to expire, kind of, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the people who have made them work, they don't sell them when they work. And some do. There are some, but you have to be extremely good at being able to filter out and realize which ones matter and which ones don't. But that's going to be 1% at best, of all these products. So
the scammers from the truth sayers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And not even scammers sometimes, but usually just ignorant.
Incompetent, ignorant, right. Yeah.
Yeah, not to be mean, but just, it's enormous. It's a huge, complicated, complex situation. So some people think they know it all, and, they sell it like that, and it's not true. And so the people that we have gathered together, the idea of SEO Wisely was to bring people together who have current knowledge and actually use that knowledge in current practices that actually work right now. And they're willing to share and be participating in a group like that because they realize that they don't know all the parts of everything else. So someone else can teach them the other parts that they need to know for their business. And usually, each person's a little niche. They just need to know a few areas here, a few areas there, and put them all together. They don't need to know all of it. So there you go. That's a long, lengthy explanation of how this came to be.
I found not only you've got formalized training as well, because you've got people coming in and giving classes that we can listen to live or watch the recording, which I have been phenomenally helpful. But sometimes after the class is done talking, I found even more interest, because you can interact with people like that and ask questions. And one time, unfortunately, I had to go to a client meeting, and it was just telling me to take the headset off. I was thinking about canceling the client meeting so I could just keep hearing the dialogue.
Wow, was that engaging, Peter? Huh? Wow.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. You have to understand, Will, for those of us that work by ourselves, it's a lonely place out there. And, we have clients to talk to, but you've got to game and try to figure out what's going on, and we're always playing this tug-of-war with Google. And
to actually swap notes that are really going to help,
incredible stuff. And, for me, it's like coming out of the cold into the warmth.
Yeah.
So the engaging was on it. This one gentleman was talking about reputation management. What the heck is that? And now it makes all the sense in the world about why one might want to do that.
But at first you were like, what is that? You have to get your mind wrapped around it, yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody actually makes a living at that. Wow, that was pretty cool. And I think he's actually going to come on and give a class, is he not, John?
Yes, it's actually this Friday at 3 p.m. on our meeting. You can sign up for that on SEO Wisely. His name is actually Elaine, and he has a whole business just doing, he does a number of things, but he has one specialty area in his business where he does that reputation management, where it's an online reputation management that they cover reviews and local traffic, local presentation and search engine results. And that in and of itself can be completely its own specialty.
Yeah, so, and we've got some strategy plays on dealing with that as well. Or I do anyway.
You kind of tweak it and update it or something? Yeah.
Well, no, what happens, Will, is that basically people are using their smartphones now to look for local
Right.
stuff.
It's all the iPhone or the Android, sure, of course.
Right. And what happens is that people use these businesses, like a pizza parlor, for example, and they don't like the pizza, they go on to Yelp and they give them a bad review. And the pizza place has no idea that people who are now looking are running into these bad reviews. They didn't even know they had a bad review.
Yeah. Right. They don't even know it exists.
It's there.
There it is.
Wow.
Dang. And this is where there's 114 million people in America who use a smartphone to search for stuff locally right now. And growing every day. And so that's a real important piece of the puzzle. If you're going to help a client, is to take a look at what the local people are saying. And if he's got a bunch of bad reviews in there, then you have to go try to fix that, and that's what this other gentleman
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's incredible because I still use my PC more, but literally every friend and family member uses either an iPhone or an Android. I'm like one of the last ones who don't really, It's crazy, It's just going to keep growing like we're saying. So.
Exactly. And it's very powerful, too, because apparently Google is watching what people are saying on Yelp.
Mm-hmm.
If you Zing a company, Google eats that up, spiders it up, and it gets served up with everything else.
Yeah.
So you have to be more proactive than ever as a result of this, where this technology is taken over silently, and brick and mortar companies don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
That's totally true. Totally true.
Yeah, and which begs to remind me of the when you take business classes, one of the first things you learn is about the glass repairman that used to walk around the Bronx and throw bricks through windows with his calling card on it.
I like that, yeah.
Well, now, it's not a far stretch that if you decide you wanted to pick out what you believe is a fairly reasonable client that has cash flow and trash his reputation anonymously and then offer to fix it. It's one of those things that, unfortunately, you could probably go do. You know?
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I go on Amazon, guys, and, movies, books, whatever you have it, electronics, and, of course, you've got, say, per item, say, 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes there's hundreds of reviews, and they say, oh, what's more helpful to you, or what's, more positive or negative, and sometimes it's swamped with negatives, and you're like, are half these things real? Or these people have an axe to grind? It's weird, yeah, but people are going to listen to it.
Yeah, and by the way, John, the local search check component should go on our website review checkoff sheet, the website review sheet, remember, form?
Oh, certainly, that's on there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see that it is on there, but I just wrote it on mine, so saying that we ought to take and put a Yelp search on there or something, search reputation management search or something, results.
Okay, that'll be a spin-off probably from the training this Friday that we'll do. And
exactly. I actually haven't sent this to you yet, but I did. I redid that form and added the stuff that I like, the Google Analytics installed, those kinds of things. Flash, is it being used or not? I'm seeing places that are using Flash still, and that knocks out a good component of the Mac products. I'm putting this together, and we can ensemble it later. But so that's on topic.
Right.
Now, so you've got a community that's growing, and and it's the content is growing probably faster than the enrollment is growing, but you're building quite a head of steam for what types of people are you actually looking to get into this group? I mean, I think I know the answer to that, but why don't you tell me?
Well, to SEO Wisely, into the SEO Wisely group would be a best fit for anyone who is doing SEO, either for their own online business or for clients. As well, it would be a good fit for someone with a local business or with their own business who just wants to learn how to do at least a manageable, or whatever their degree is, level of online reputation management for their business, either a website or their website for their brick and mortar business, because they can learn up to their level. And there are a lot of things you can implement, because we show all these things happening through video recordings of the screen and actually what we're doing, and we show how to go to the right websites and choose the right options and things like that to allow the person to do their own degree, their own level of online reputation management, which can be enormous, especially since online marketing, online information vastly exceeds what's in print now. And will just keep growing as every device becomes smaller and quicker and easier to access. For example, of course, they already have contacts, which of course are not on the commercial market yet, but are in design, that you have a contact that you wear, and it is a little computer screen, and you can do stuff on it. So if a person's wearing a contact, are they going to go to the Yellow Pages book? Are they going to go search for 15 minutes to find a big hunk of a tree limb that's been printed on and thumb through it for 15 minutes? Right, because so all I'm saying is that these things are obviously growing just exponentially as far as who's looking through either the internet or mobile source to find their information. And there are tons of, for example, in this case, these reviews directories that will capture an online business's information, set up a reviews page for it on their directory, and people randomly find it and submit their reviews. Well, most people that have a person who has a bad experience is somewhat like 10 times more likely to submit a review about it than a person who has a good experience. So if there's any degree of bad experiences, then that business could have a lot of information out there on these websites that show up on a search before their own website. This directory website will show up on a search before the real owner's real website, and that website would have these reviews on it, and there could very easily be a lot of bad reviews. So the problem is that if there weren't many people looking through online sources and internet sources, then it wouldn't be a problem. But more and more, there's already an extremely large majority as compared to print ads or anything like that of searches coming through the internet. So I think we all know that, but it's something that people like to just ignore because the internet and digital and mobile mediums are so confusing to the vast majority of people that they just pretend it doesn't exist.
The nuts and bolts and how it really works. So.
Yeah, they just, if you talk to them, I've been around internet stuff, working with people, for digital and internet work for many years, for end users, and they usually just glaze over almost instantaneously, and they don't want to hear anything about these things that we're talking about here. So to have online reputation management is just becoming more and more and more absolutely necessary for people with any kind of business, because even if the person does not even have a website, you can look it up on Google. It'll show up in Google Maps, the Google Local Places maps, and that person may have never put 1 ounce of information about themselves or their business online, but the way that Google and these other businesses, these other directories and things find their information, they just glean the information off of the places they find it on the internet, put it together into a profile, and then all of a sudden you have a digital profile even though you never asked for it and it was never supposed to be there. So it's like Peter said, they're throwing a brick through the window with their calling card on it. These directories, the websites, the online reputation, all these tons and tons of businesses who just, they want to be a bulletin board. They want to be a place where it's like the Yellow Pages, a book. It's as if it were the Yellow Pages, the book, except online. So there are tons of places like this, and many of them are already representing people's businesses without them knowing, and without them knowing what's being said. So there's that big problem there. And so the next problem is being an SEO, being someone who represents people online, either their business entity or their personal entity or their brick and mortar entity or their website entity. That's an SEO usually, or internet marketer or one of those terms.
Right.
So there's even more of these places and systems and things coming out to do things. For example, Google, I just mentioned, they have their maps, they have their local. They had local, and now it's become Google Plus more so. And all these changes that are happening, for someone who does this, an SEO or an internet marketer,
right,
like we said, just to keep up with this stuff is a job in and of itself. So we have right now, at this introductory price, it's $17 a month. I don't know how long that'll be after this podcast, because we only allow a certain amount of members before we move up to another subscription amount per month.
You do kind of a special or a sale, right? You're saying, yeah. Right.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And, anybody who has been a part of this, I don't think we've had any cancellations because the information is killer. And then we have these amazing people who come on and teach. I work with them, of course, and have a couple people. We basically judge their level of expertise and ensure that it's good and good enough to teach and that they're doing it. And then we teach these, we take the person kind of like we're doing right now, you're doing with me, and interview them and walk through their process of, these specific things that they do, like this local reputation management that Lane is going to teach on Friday. And Peter has offered to teach a few things. And we've had a few other trainers who have made amazing content. And on so many diverse subjects, there's really too many to even remember. But yeah, basically we cover ways to monetize online. We cover how to interact with and get local clients, like brick and mortar clients who need their local website and services represented. We have tools and softwares area on the site that shows people the best tools and software to make their lives easier, and also how to use those correctly.
Right.
Because, just like a shovel, you can use it incorrectly, and that these softwares are far more complex than that, so you can use a software or tool very badly. And then we have, the more emerging area market, which is social media.
Right. And like you were saying, sometimes it's not even the tool that it's intentionally bad. It just might not be competent. It might be, a badly designed tool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not everybody is Steve Jobs, and not everybody has an infinite amount of money where they can keep figuring out where the best spot is and color to make a button. A lot of these tools are, under the radar. They're developed well, perhaps, but the buttons are weird. You got to figure out ways to use them and things like that.
And the support might not be great, and you're kind of on your own, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we're back to that. Like on your own, and we're fighting the most amazing empire that's ever been built, which is Google.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't like to say fighting them, but a lot of people, that's.
Or playing with them nicely, whatever. Yeah, trying to get along with them. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm like me. I realize, okay, we got to get along. That's why I've made this website where we're like, okay, we got to get together. We got to rally. We got to figure out how to make this work together for each other. And
because any war will probably fail with them, right? It's kind of hard. Yeah.
Right. I mean, World War II. There were a lot of. They called allies, and the Axis, allies, meaning a bunch of people decided, hey, that's not cool. We got to go bond together.
And have our own team. Exactly. Good point. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, Peter, you know what? As John was talking, what it really meant to me, because obviously, and compared to you two, I'm really the novice here in terms of SEO and all, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But what really spoke to me is all the time we've spent about small businesses in America. And of course, as we know, that's really the backbone of the economy, right? The small business, the small, entrepreneur. And what John said, really resonates, because you could have that pizzeria, bakery, electronics store, plumbing supply. And just like John said, they might not have a web presence, and they think, well, that's okay. Or, I don't care, and I don't know about negative reviews. But just like John is saying, Yelp, these other places, they kind of, collate information, and they will have a profile on you whether you like it or not. So that's why you do have to go to someone like John, someone like you, Peter, to be schooled in it more, right? To get your own reputation management. Yeah.
Yes, or of course hire people like us too to just fix it. Yeah, they don't want to know how to build a watch. They just want to know what time.
Exactly like John is saying. Their eyes kind of glaze over. They're like, look, can you do this for me? Can you help me out? Yeah, I mean, you guys are providing the service. You guys are the wizards, the little Merlins of the web, and you know what to do. Yeah.
There's a lot of, like John says, I think it's going to get more and more difficult, more and more spun up and crazy. As I don't want to beat up Google. I already had my rant with them today, but it just dawns on me. When Penguin came out, everybody I know's traffic got cut in half. I
was reading right before we went to air. I was reading about Penguin and Panda, right? The way they just kind of decimated.
And they have Panda 2.0 in the wing. And I was out on my video blog walk today, and I said, well, if you just keep this up, none of us will have any traffic, none of us will make any money, and you'll become irrelevant because nobody's going to search for anything because we don't have any money. There's nobody going to be in business.
Yeah, it'll only be the Google darlings, It's just.
Well, yeah, but and that should not be the way it is.
It's like a monopoly. It's crazy. It's shutting people out.
It's definitely a monopoly, and monopolies on information is really dangerous.
Tell me, right? Like China, or places where they're going to kind of cut and restrict. Yeah, it's crazy.
The other axiom I like to think of Google is like having a wife that will never tell you what pleases her. Because that's what guys want to do. They want to typically please their wife. But you don't have a recipe for that. Sometimes you hit it, and sometimes
you don't know, Peter. I like that. Right, you're ignorant. You're right. You don't know what you're doing.
It'll drive you crazy, and that's if they're going to manipulate searches that way, they ought to tell us what is important to them. I think they're trying to do that, but they're certainly penalizing. They're going after 2% of the black hat people.
Yeah, the real scammers, like the real spammer types. Right.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
no one likes.
And they should be out of
nobody likes.
They should be out of there. Nobody should be using black hat techniques, period. There's no reason to. You build a good website and communicate well and make sure it's all relevant, because that's what they're all about. You should never be hurt. Most of us were hurt in the Panda and Penguin motion, and we don't know why. And it's not an 800 number you can call your Google representative, like you had to have one. Now you have to have one.
Mm.
And help me understand why my traffic went so bad.
Right, like we say, and someone can just go online and have an axe to grind and say, this pizza sucks, or these bagels suck, and you don't know what's happening. Yeah. It's on Yelp or whatever, and you're like, why is no one coming in for my bagels anymore, or so little? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the soul of, American business, is the local business person, and it's a shame that there isn't a really obvious way to manage all of this stuff, but perhaps in 20 years, they'll have organized the most massive, ridiculously complicated and complex infinitesimal library that exists, which is the internet. But that's a lot to organize. And of course, there's more being added all the time, in a compounding manner, probably more, every year than there was existing last year or something. And I don't know that for a fact, but it's very obvious that there's a lot more information going out, but a lot of it is not that great of quality. And the main problem is, if it's a massive library, then you just have to be organized in the right spot, using the right information. And it's not just as simple as picking up one book and putting it in one spot. There's tons of these different places, and for a search engine optimizer or internet marketer, they have to know what's going to have the most effect.
Most of the bang for their buck, kind of. Yeah.
Because of course the clients, they do not care. In my early days, I used to try to explain what was going on. They couldn't give whatever you want to say, but all they care about is, am I getting more clients?
The result.
Or,
Yeah, it's phone ringing. I'm getting emails. Exactly.
Right. And Peter, I remember too, I think this is really applicable when we talk about sort of the Facebook debacle, right? Kind of with the IP on how, everyone thought, Facebook was going to save or maybe even topple Google, right? And you look at how they're doing now, and I think we were discussing that, Facebook is kind of closed, right? They can't really accept Google searching or crawling, or it's very limited, right? So then now you have Facebook, which is still a player. I mean, we can't ignore it, but yet it's not really Google crawlable, right? Or searchable in a way, or it's kind of closed. Yeah,
right.
And so, but yeah, again, Facebook is a player, so it's like you can't really ignore them. So it's so confusing, right? Twitter, Facebook, there's so many outlets to get your word out there, but that's why you need guys like you to say, look, here's a better way, here's a path, here's a map, a strategy.
Yeah, precisely. And I think one of the things that's neat about John's organization, it's a white hat organization on the cutting edge.
Right. Like you said, you're not going to use anything that people don't want to use. It's all up on the up and up. It's to get the word out about a business or service or whatever.
Yeah. Right, because we have our own reputation to uphold, because, these negative things that have happened, where Google's fighting all this black hat kind of stuff, that was originated from, times you could just build a website and put a bunch of keywords on it that you want, and the next day it'd be the first one in the ranks,
right,
and you'd be making, tons of money off of it.
I think they call it keyword stuffing or something. Yeah. Exactly.
And that might just be a business where the person didn't really care. They might say, "Hey, I put 10 hours into making this business. It's lasted for a year, and now Google figured it out and they killed it. Who cares? I made 20, 30, 50 grand off of that website, off of 10 hours of work, and another couple hours a week or something like that."
They brought in the panda and the penguin to have justice, right, or discipline.
Yeah, and you love their names because they're like, I call them furry creatures update.
Right. They sound so cute,
like
right?
Little stuffed animals. Yeah, they're like, oh, we're so cute. And it's like, there's some movie I think where the little stuffed animal turns into like a beast and eats the person.
Yeah,
or
really,
something.
like killing with the kindness,
like
killing with a stuffed toy, something.
Right. But for a brick and mortar business, man, they're gonna come after you. if the SEO guy is using all these techniques where I call it SEO repo, where Google says, "Oh, look at this, we caught you.
Right.
We said not to do this stuff. You did it. Now the website's gone." And that client who might have been getting, enough business before that black hat SEO got a hold of them, and then, maybe it started working there for a few months, maybe a while, maybe a year. They started getting more business. Who knows, maybe even a lot more. And then all of a sudden, it's gone because when Google de-indexes a site, it's done. It's done. That person's just going to have a completely new website and domain and everything rebuilt for their business. And there's still going to be a lot of negative stuff out there with their name. They might even have to put a new business name, change their business name to some degree because of all the negative stuff out there about them. So what we're doing is saying, well, Google's leading the charge. I mean, I would like to be able to call the shots, but that'd be a foolish thing for me to think I'm doing. They're calling the shots. They're saying how it is, and that's just going to keep happening more and more. So what's the thing to do when somebody's obviously dictating a situation? Well, you figure out how to work with them, or you leave. But
work with the system, within the system. Yeah, you have.
And
I've always said, well, this may be wrong now, but Google's primary job is to return a relevant set of data to a search query.
To provide the most logical search, the most logical result.
Yeah, and when they fail to do that, they're out of business because nobody will.
Right, they won't trust them.
So in that vein, relevancy is the key thing. And so, from the search engine optimization standpoint, my job is to make sure that Google understands what this website is relevant for.
Right.
And make it easy for them to determine exactly what the place is that they're going, that there is no spam, and it is actually saying what they say they do. They have pictures of what it is that they're selling or whatever, that it is a relevant thing. And I think if more people approached it that way, Google wouldn't be all up in arms right now about this mess.
Right. Well, here's another thing that's going to happen with that is, for example, Google wants it exactly their way, and they have denied a lot of things which are black hat and do work and have worked and continue to work, even though they've killed a lot of those techniques. So they want to say, oh, we have a halo on, and if you just do these certain little things, you'll get the best results, which is completely untrue. And to me, that's not servicing real people with real businesses who need to be represented correctly. And so the next thing to do would be to get people who know how to categorize this information and assist Google in categorizing it. And that's what Peter's talking about. And it actually just made me think, well, what if I just tell the normal end user client who has no idea, even when I say a better term like search engine marketing, they still are kind of like, oh, they're like 98% glazed as opposed to 100. Instead, I'm going to call myself an online librarian.
Right. Something more they can relate to or something. Yeah.
Which, of course, doesn't cover it as well as, saying that we really make sure you're represented as well as your business should be. But there's some kind of medium where they're going to meet in the middle, and people will be doing practices that Google will basically just have to say, well, we didn't want to say we liked you, but okay, we like you now, because otherwise they'll have to go hire these people themselves. They're already doing that. They're already hiring people to observe and look over websites and determine whether they're correctly represented or not. So it's really ridiculous if they think, or someone else thinks, that Google will be managing everything like that. At some point they'll just probably start calling SEOs back up who have stopped working and say, hey, do you want a job at Google organizing these websites?
Right, because you would know what they were doing, or they'd be familiar, so they could know.
Right.
Well, I think the big thing now, too, I think the group, the SEO Wisely group, pretty much understands that, we have to build relevant websites, relevant material, and then get a big relevant footprint out there for Google to notice. That's, I think, one of the big things, and it's real, it's relevant, it's high quality content,
That it's worth their crawl, and worth their listing.
Exactly, all pointing back to a site that's pretty active. Yeah. And if your site isn't active, if it's not growing every week, you're not adding more pages, you're not adding more content, that's not exciting for Google. You start falling in the ranks, and it's
And one thing we see here is that they're trying to make everybody wear the same pair of pants. And even I just put on a pair of pants I just bought or something the other day, and instead of saying one size fits all, they say one size fits most. Well, Google doesn't even seem to be really doing that. They have a set of protocols that everyone who has an online presence has to fit into that one-size-fits-all kind of algorithm or set of protocols that they have set up. And some websites are completely and absolutely relevant, valid, real, great service businesses represented online with their website, but they don't follow Google's protocols that Google makes a website better or worse by. For example, this website, they don't update anything on their website for years and years and years, but it's an extremely valid, relevant, real business that needs to be represented and is the best one in the local area and would be the best thing that people need to find when they're looking for that service. So Google is trying to, as if everything in every business in the world is going to be represented perfectly by this algorithm that they
right, like they need a blog every day or something always updated, like you said, some business. Well, yeah, it might not, and they're still fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good plumber, and they don't give one rat's about going online and writing something for the day. They just don't care.
Yeah, they've been in business for 20, 25 years. He does his plumbing. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't have to write a blog. Or it's like
I'm out plumbing. I'm not blogging, man.
Plumbing, blogging. Exactly.
Updated haven't put new information on your site in 6 months. So
really,
sorry.
What do you want me to? Get your toilet in order, a blog?
Exactly. They'll have to invent wrenches that blog about how many turns he did for the day or something, automatically upload it.
Yeah,
to
the new
internet
snake I'm using for the sink, and it's just crazy. That's a good example. Yeah, like you said, they're valid, they're legitimate, they're quite invaluable to people, but yet they might not be ranked or ranked very high.
And another thing we see all the time, of course, is who's going to be scrupulous and just follow the utopian guidelines of Google, where they're saying, oh, just do it this way and you'll be perfectly represented. You're the second best plumber in the area and you'll just pop up there perfectly. Yeah, right. There's going to be someone who says, well, hey, I know how to represent my business online. I'm going to represent it online because it makes me money and it makes my business work. So they'll do it. And then they'll be represented, and the real, relevant, valid, good website won't, or real service.
Right.
It doesn't matter if we're a really good business that's great for people and is following their guidelines. The next business is like, hey, I'm getting myself represented better. I'm, going to call the SEO guy or something. And if this is the point where we're seeing these big things clash, where all of these previous black hat, gray hat kind of stuff are really under the gun, have been, if this was a war, would have been, halfway decimated, and a change of strategy is imminent and absolutely necessary, or extinction is, up the creek for, people in our business. So we have found amazing results from just gathering these people together to understand this situation, and they say, we've got to gather together, share this information. It's how Google is doing stuff. They don't have all their people in different little cubicles that never speak to each other. They're all getting together and saying, hey, what are these SEO guys doing? What is real business doing? How should we represent them online? What should we change our algorithm? Blah, blah, blah.
They're at that big campus getting their free lunches, right?
We need one of them. And if enough people come to SEO Wisely, we will have one. Set up a campus in a little building, and we can hang out and, thumb our nose at Google across the sea until we finally come to terms together and we start working together, but, with Google. Or whoever exists at that point, Google might mess something up and one of these other search engine competitors could take things over.
Yeah, like Peter, I was talking about that with Peter the other day, John. Like, I know Bing and Yahoo are still, I think 20% or under 20%. They're not the player. I mean, it is still Google, but they are there, right? They are, being used. So yeah, I mean, you do have Bing, but yeah.
Well, one thing for sure, I mean, Google's going to get sued.
We say
if you arbitrarily, well, not arbitrarily, but if you reduce my traffic by half to a mom and pop website for no reason you can tell them, that's like coming in with a gun and stealing half the profits.
Yeah.
And what gives you the right to do that?
Yeah, or setting up some kind of roadblock on the, you can't go down that road. Yeah, it's insane.
Or delist you because you're not playing by their rules. What gives you the right to do that? And of course, the answer is their own tool. It's their own company. They can do anything they want. But I think there comes a point of defamation of character and or monopoly issues. It's a monopoly, and I often wonder if they're not pushing everybody to organic search will never happen anymore. The only way to get up on that is to buy ads.
Right, and look at what is it? Remember that when the new iPhone came out, they said something about the Apple Maps as opposed to Google Maps. It seems to me if everyone's looking at a mobile phone and doing like even Google Maps, then what if they don't list you on their map and you're trying to find that restaurant? Right. And you're like, well, we don't want to put you on because you're not playing by the rules. And okay, we'll pass you by because Google Maps is not saying where it is, saying where you are. It's just scary.
Right.
It's crazy.
And that's, some mafioso kind of stuff.
It's like the mob. Great.
And except covering the whole world. And I don't think they would have that intention, but as anything goes, in a big enough system, people get lost, and the people who get lost are usually the ones who just didn't know any better, and they didn't know how to represent themselves. And, they might have a great business, but now it went under or is not getting its proper rewards and not able to service people, even though they might have the best service of that nature.
And like we're saying, they just say, oh, well, we don't have to worry about the web because we're not on it. No, you do, because there's other people talking about you on the web, so you've got to go on. You have to.
Yeah. Choosing not to participate in the conversation doesn't mean the conversation's not happening. It's definitely happening, and it's where most people are talking. So what we're doing here is we're looking ahead. We're just, we set this up by saying, what's the obvious direction of evolution here? People gather together and trade their information. This is the Underground Railroad. This is the revolution headquarters. This is just where we are, making a stand, and not in any kind of aggressive way, except to be aggressive in claiming our position as being able to properly service people, and through that allow them to service the people that they service. So we're in belief that we can properly do that, and we can properly do that by collaborating our information, collaborating our knowledge, and participating together in real time, and allow each other to understand what's working in this area, what's working in that area. And therefore, instead of going and trying to figure something out in a fast-paced changing environment and trying to figure it out for yourself as an SEO or internet marketer, why not just talk to someone who is doing it right now and can say, here's the steps, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, do that, and that's the best result that I know of. And it works for tons of people, and they pay me X amount of dollars for it, every week. To me, that's valid information.
Right, it's like more of a whole package than just a couple tips. Yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about before we close off this podcast is that I saw the need for a seal of approval. If we start a standard that a website passes a set of guidelines, a report card at a certain level, that they could get a seal of approval from the SEO Wisely guide, which says that we would look at their website, make sure there's no black hat stuff, make sure there's none of the stuff that gets them in trouble with Google, and then give them some silver, gold, bronze, whatever seal of approval that maybe one day, might carry some weight with Google even. That, hey, this team of SEO guys that we're not so sure we like all the time, but these good ones, we sort of like those guys, and they've looked at this site and said, hey, we don't have to worry about that. That could be a good thing. And so I got John thinking down this line, because I want one of those seals. I want this team to look at my site, because I'm supposedly doing this for other people. Nobody knows everything. And this group has an ensemble group of people that probably do know about everything, but where I'm going with this is Really nice thing to be able to put something like that on a customer's website, letting them know if they've heard anything about the war, the Google war, that they know that they're not going to be part of the casualty list, you know?
Yeah, they're not on the front lines.
Right,
you know.
right. You may take some collateral damage from a shell nearby, but not a direct hit.
Yeah, and that they've like really cleaned house and everything's in order and they're kind of
you know, from our best guess, from everything we've looked at, we know what the black hat stuff looks like. You're not using it, not on there. It's all about relevancy. You got the right keywords that describe your business, and Google knows what those are because they're in the right places. And
right,
you know, you're looking.
We are not Darth Vader. We are not the dark side.
Exactly.
even though we are probably the rebels, and Google might be the empire.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
The evil empire. The evil empire. But they'll go after my website, which I'm not saying what it is now. So anyway, the mafia is going to visit my website. But,
no, but it's a good idea, Peter. The idea of a ranking, like you're saying, like a belt system or stars,
exactly.
whatever.
So one of the things on our checklist, is, you know, do you have any associations, awards, or stuff like that up on your website, like the Better Business Bureau or something to give your visitors a feel that you're not a fly-by-night place.
Don't they even have some kind of, what are they called? Some web, some other type of rankings. I think there are stuff like that. Yeah, but not just maybe for what we're talking about, other things. Maybe the look of a site if it's cosmetically, decorative. Yeah, something. Yeah, right.
And of course, and that's always a real question. I mean, John might like a site, and I think it stinks.
Yeah.
We're always going to have that. But with these techniques that are black hat that get you in trouble, we can tell you what they look like.
Yeah,
for sure. And so I'm still trying to get John to take a look at going down that path of getting a seal of approval that I know when I do my client's site, and if John were to check it for the seal of approval, and Google runs into that seal and the image is linked over to John's place, which is obviously good for a good link, and the link, backlink, but all of a sudden they start to know that there are people out there that care about what they're saying, that work in this industry, that aren't trying to fool them, but in fact they're trying to help them. SEOwisely.com.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's there for.
Very, very true.
Yeah, Peter, we covered a lot of ground. This has been really great. I'd like to bring John back too. I mean, I think there's too much to do in one podcast, right? There's a lot more.
Yeah, no, I would like to bring him back, and I'd like to hear where we're headed with a seal like that. If he doesn't do it, I'm done.
Well, you definitely have me intrigued, Peter, and it's not a bad idea. It's a great idea, and of course, it's actually such a good idea that the only problem is that it could be ahead of its time, which just means that we are representing ourselves in a way where it would be acceptable, just the way you're saying, that it would be that we choose, or we're representing it correctly in a way where it's a quality seal, it's a safety seal, it's something that says this has been looked over and checked to show that you're in a safe place, because even a lot of SEOs can get into trouble when they're doing all these different systems and things and whatnot, and Google's changing everything at the same time, and all of a sudden they're doing something that they thought is fine, and all of a sudden, bam, something's de-indexed or something's
a Panda update or pick up that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's not about bad intentions. It's not about anybody lying or cheating or trying to cheat the system or anything. It's just there's no standard. And when there's no standard, it's just like the Wild West. Somebody can shoot you, but you can involve yourself to a degree where you can understand, have awareness of your surroundings, and be involved enough and know enough to know, like, okay, bullets are about to fly. Let me move my stuff to a safe place, or let me, change the way I'm doing things to ensure the safety of my traffic and my clients' traffic and their business and their services and the services that I represent as well.
Right, and like you said, to band together, almost like a posse or like the war Axis and allies, they had to get together to help each other.
I think though, John, you might consider, instead of an absolute seal of approval, it's the best practices seal of approval.
Uh-huh.
you know, and that even FDA meat that's stamped meets a certain requirement, but hey, oops, that got contaminated and killed a bunch of people, but I stamped it, you know. Well, you didn't see the E. coli that got on there from somebody doing something they shouldn't have done, you know. So I think the seal of approval would certainly be valuable. It would be in my case to know that I'm building with best practices in mind. You know, here's the webmaster tools. I've done all that stuff. I've got site maps. I've got my keywords not stuffed everywhere. My density's the right place. You know, the best we understand. I think there's a lot of value in that.
I do too. So we'll see in the upcoming days how that evolves and pans out.
Yeah.
This is another innovation kind of that we have, and these things come up a bit often at SEO Wisely because we put in together different ingredients than most people by getting all these people together. So we come out with different things, with innovative ideas and things to implement and practices and tools, etc.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a think tank, right? Very kind of group. Yeah, that everyone's coming together. Good way.
It's a bunch of experts in their own field. They're each a facet of the diamond.
Yeah.
And it's really it's an incredible group. I mean, I've learned so much, and I want to teach them what I know.
Right. It's not just like one little council, like one or two people. It's everyone coming together and really, do it. Great.
Right. No, and I think John's the hub of this whole thing, and I thank you, John, for doing something like this. It's been extremely valuable in my life. And I'm sure the others are the same feeling. I'm sure of that. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep paying you money. Because one of my big questions to my clients is, why do people pay you money? They pay you money because you add value in their life, and when you stop adding value in your customer's life, they're going to stop paying you money. So you got to understand the basic fact that people are paying you money, you're adding value in their life. I think that's wonderful. So we'll bring this into a close and hopefully have you on again.
Definitely.
I will have this podcast up tonight, so I hope you can flesh the podcast out to everybody to listen to tomorrow it comes on. Make them know about it. You can, you know?
Absolutely.
I think it's a good thing, and then you should have it up on the front page of SEO Wisely so people can listen and find out really what you're all about.
Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you guys having me on, and that's a really helpful way, Will and Peter,
thanks, Sean.
to explain what we're doing here, and I appreciate your assistance in letting me talk about it.
You betcha, and if whoever listens to this, if they're not part of SEO Wisely, they better hurry up and get over there before the rates go up.
Yeah,
that's my call to
like
action.
you said, the sale's going to end, right? Kind of special's going to end.
That's right. That's what we're going to. That's true, though, too. You don't have to do like 6 months at a time. It's a month. So it's really cool. You can opt out anytime you want.
Like pay as you go, right? No contract.
There you go. Well, hey, thanks, Will. You have any closing statements you want to talk about?
No, I was just going to say I want to appreciate John coming on, and I can't wait to talk to him again. Well, we probably can do another 2 shows at least. Right.
Oh, I think so, too. And John was worried about how long this was going to be and how often it would be. It was pretty easy, wasn't it, John?
Definitely, yeah.
Yes.
That was very good.
I looked at the 41-minute mark, and you're still cranking, talking away there, John. For an awful bashful guy, you sure talk well.
Well, you know.
All right. Well, we'll bring it to a close. Hey, guys, thank you much. And Will, you'll unplug us all,
absolutely,
okay?
Guys. Have a good one. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye. Thanks, John.
Peter.
Bye.